How does Aubrey Plaza and crime fit into a film? Well, you're about to find out in my newest review for the crime drama film Emily the Criminal that is now streaming on VOD. Is this film any good or does it just flop? Find out my thoughts next. Down on her luck and saddled with debt, Emily gets involved in a credit card scam that pulls her into the criminal underworld of Los Angeles, ultimately leading to deadly consequences. The film stars Aubrey Plaza, Theo Rossi, Bernardo Badillo, Jonathan Avigdori, Kim Yarbrough, Gina Gershon, and Wesley Hahn, and was directed by John Patton Ford. So Emily the Criminal came out in theaters back in August. I didn't get a chance to see it. I did have a friend that did get a chance to check out this film, and he said it was all right, but I really still wanted to check it out. I never watched a trailer on it, but I did know what the film was actually about. So Aubrey Plaza, she plays Emily. She's in a lot of debt from college, and she also works at a restaurant. She's not making ends meet, and she's not really paying any of her debt off with all the actual interest that she has. So she actually meets a friend that tells her to go to this guy named Javier, where he runs this underground scheme to make more money. So when she meets up with this guy, the first job that she actually has to do is she takes a fake credit card and she has to go buy a TV, and she's paid $200 for it. But then after she completes that, she has to do more dangerous tasks where she has to go to a car dealership and actually pay with a fake cashier check to actually buy this car. So things go a little bit haywire there, and she gets into more dangerous trouble there. And that's what this film really follows. It really follows her going into these dangerous kinds of schemes and making fake credit cards and making fake purchases, and then also selling these TVs to others and making money doing so. And of course, when you're doing that kind of thing, you're selling these kinds of items to different people that are criminals as well. So you're trying to make ends meet. So I see where she's trying to make actual money to actually pay off her debt while also trying to follow her dreams. And that's really where this film really actually tackles into. But I think the problem with this film is, even though it goes in that direction of actually talking about this whole credit card scheme point, it doesn't really show a lot of the consequences of it. The film also shows that Emily is trying to get a real job on top of doing this credit card scheme, but every time she tries to get a real job and actually try to interview, she gets these whack job kind of interviewers. I really did like in the first 50 minutes of this, it really does tackle a lot of how she's doing this, how she's making her money, her getting into this life of crime, and some of the things that you can come across when you're doing this crime. But after about the 50-minute mark, it shifts more so into a love romance kind of movie. And I really didn't really like that portion about the film, because I really wanted it to tackle a little bit more of punishment and what really can happen beyond the fact of you actually stealing credit card information, and really how this information is actually coming about, because it really doesn't really dive into how they're getting these credit cards. It just shows that they're copying these credit cards and they're using them in stores that buy TVs. I wanted it to show a little bit more as far as actual punishment, but I think that it really was trying to focus more so on Emily's story, her dreams, her wants. What does she really want? Especially towards the end of the film, it really does tackle that portion of the film. And also, when you're watching this film, you have to know what kind of film you're getting into, because the budget is only $1.5 million for this film, and it made slightly over $2 million. So this isn't your high octane action kind of film. It really is just focusing on Emily and her trying to make this money. There is some action kind of scenes that really shows her repercussions for some of the stuff that she's doing, but it just doesn't really go beyond those certain scenes, and there isn't as much action as you think there is in this film. I will say that probably after the hour mark, and when it does get into this romance aspect, I found it was a little bit forced. I really didn't really care for that romance connection. It felt kind of loose the way that they actually threw that into the story. I would have liked it better if they just stayed actual co-workers, and they could have twisted the story a little bit more than what they actually were trying to do. By the end of this film, I was kind of satisfied with the ending, but at the same time, like I mentioned, I really wanted a little bit more actual repercussions and punishment for things that Emily did in this film, even though I know that she was trying to better her future, and it wasn't something that she really wanted to do, but she was just trying to find a way to make money. And I think sometimes when people do crime like this, they do things to just try to better themselves. I don't think every criminal is probably the one that just wants to have bad intentions and try to make life hell for others. but I do think that this kind of thing with credit card fraud and schemes and such like that, I don't think there really is much harsh penalties for this. I think you only get a little bit of jail time, but that's really it, because a lot of people that actually do this kind of stuff, most of the time they're right back out of jail and they're doing it again, and they don't really ever tackle that aspect in this film, and I wish they would have went there. So that was a little bit disappointing about the film. But as far as an overall score for this film, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I liked it for what it was. I wanted to go a little bit further, but I think because the budget is only $1.5 million, it doesn't get to that point, and it doesn't have that high action, which is fine, because I think for what the story, for what it is, I think it's likable enough, but I don't think it's an excellent film, but I think it's a good one-time watch. But thank you guys for watching this review, and I'll see you guys on my next review.